We all need to check our blood pressure after that nail-biter of an overtime game, but the Packers eventually prevailed over the Bengals. We'll recap that dangerous win, look on to next week against the Bears, and also share some of our listener feedback about both. All coming up next on this episode of your Packers Fan Podcast.
Welcome back to another fun edition of the Packers Fan Podcast. You know it's the show by fans and for fans of your 13-time NFL champion, Green Bay Packers. I'm Wayne Henderson from MediaVoiceovers.com, and I'm wondering if it's safe for me to stop breathing into this paper bag just yet.
I feel your pain, man. And I'm Scott Clark from The Gaming Outsider, and I'm also still recovering from that game. Here's to hoping next week is a little easier, if nothing else for the sake of our health. On this 234th edition of Your Packers Fan Podcast, we'll review our win over the Bengals and share our favorite moments from that game, and maybe some not-so-favorite moments. We'll also share your favorite moments as well. We've got your voicemails from 920-3PACK-GO, also by email and in our Facebook group.
Our Packers are heading out to Arlington Heights. Oh, wait, I guess they didn't move just yet. I guess the Bears are still into Chicago, so we're going to be playing them this Sunday in Chicago, the Bears. We're going to preview this epic matchup. And, Scott, did you know that we're also going to include your keys to victory?
I'm glad we are, because I had them ready to go.
Oh, thank goodness. I was getting a little nervous about that. Well, highlights from our win over the Bengals. That game was just crazy, but one of my favorite things from the whole game was that great touchdown pass and run by A.J. Dillon. I mean, it's so satisfying that both Dillon and Aaron Jones have good pass-catching hands in addition to being strong running backs. It's kind of a win-win. It was awesome to watch.
Absolutely, and this is a bit of a spoiler alert for my keys to victory, which we'll go to later, but I just love that we've got two solid running backs. How many weeks have I been talking about can't wait to see Dillon do something, just because I'm expecting great things from him because of the size of his thighs, if nothing else, and he really brought it this week, and it was good to see him get a few more touches. Because the more Rodgers spreads that ball out, whether it be passing or running, the more we're going to confuse that offense, and I love to see it. Also, although Mason did miss an extra point, which if you think about it, if he had done that, we wouldn't have even had the craziness at the end of the game. But he did get us a field goal soon after that, and later another field goal, which makes his 26th straight in a row. And then later in the game, he made his 27th straight. And then, unfortunately, he missed 3 field goals in a row. Interesting fact, he hadn't missed since week 17 of the 2019 season. So that's how long it's been since he's missed a field goal. In fact, I did a little bit of research just because it was a crazy weekend all around with missed kicks.
Oh, but man.
This was the first game since the 1970 AFL-NFL merger that saw 5 missed field goals in the final 3 minutes of regulation or overtime, according to research by the Elias Sports Bureau. It was also the only game since then with 5 missed potential go-ahead field goals in the fourth quarter or overtime.
Unbelievable.
Just nuts.
I don't know what was in the water or whatever it is that kickers drink, but I'm going to pass.
Exactly. I mean, remember when point after touchdowns were always just a given? It was like you never even thought of a touchdown as being 6 points. You just thought of it as 7 because nobody ever missed him. It was so rare. And then when they moved him back to the 15, as much as it sucked for this week for us, I think it makes the game more interesting because this happens more often than by far than it used to. So I think it's kind of cool. But anyway, I thought it was a really classy move on LaFleur's part. When they went into overtime, Crosby had already missed 2. And, potentially game-winning field goals. And LaFleur decided to have Crosby be the one to go out and actually call the toss, which was just such a great coach thing to do. What a way to show faith in your player. And even though he did miss another one in overtime, I just really love that move.
Yeah, like you said, classy move. In fact, when we get to the listener feedback, some listeners bring that up as well in another angle about it. But wow, the kicking, it was just one of those weekends. And we still haven't watched the Monday Night Football game yet. Who knows what's going to happen on the field there?
Yeah, it's about to start right now as we are recording.
but we've got a podcast to do. So there. And Devonte Adams had yet another stellar touchdown to go in his bag of tricks. His highlight reel is getting longer every week with all of the amazing catches and touchdowns. It just blows my mind, some of the things he can do.
For real. And that touchdown that you're talking about was very close. There was some question as to whether or not he, completed the process, which is a phrase that's been thrown around for the past few years. I wouldn't have been surprised if they had called that back and called it not a catch. I was actually expecting it when it happened, but thankfully, they decided to keep it and rule it a touchdown, so we did get that score. But speaking of Adams, there was a couple other passes that he had later in the game too that just, how does he get that open, or how does he get that ball into his hands when Rodgers throws those rainbows down in there? It's just amazing to watch. There was like a 70-yard one in the third quarter that it's just so good to see.
Oh yeah, because like you said, even when he's double teamed, he can catch the ball most of the time. But yet there was still at least one or two plays in this game where he was as wide open as I've ever seen a wide receiver be.
He's one of the best in the league.
Yeah, Devontae's not one of those guys you leave open.
For sure. But who I'm glad they did leave open was Amos on our defense, who had an interception to start off the second half, which was awesome. And no joke, Wayne, I have a little text group. We've got our little our little Facebook community where we go back and forth and talk on there, but I have my own little text group with some other friends, and I said 3 and out right before that first play. And what do you know? Our defense did one better and picked off Burrow on the very first play of the second half, which was really awesome. I love it when a plan comes together. And speaking of defense, I got to say, things do look a little bit better. I was getting some warm and fuzzies about our defense, especially that defensive line getting pressure on the quarterback. And we'll talk about some red zone stuff a little bit later, but it was pretty cool to see some stops here and there. We just got to work on the red zone.
It's extra amazing because of the number of injured players we have on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was a little bit nervous going into that game. The Bengals are no slouch. They're 3-1, just like we were. And going on the road, missing some defensive pieces, a little nerve-wracking, just like everything else in this game.
Yeah, pretty much. And speaking of my texting group, somebody in my group actually sent me a picture. I don't know if you shared this in the Facebook group or not, but there was a line graph of the win probability for who was going to win the game, if Green Bay was going to win the game. And it looks like a heartbeat monitor at points because the game was so up and down, especially at the very end of the game, where it seemed pretty clear that Cincinnati was going to win, then it seemed pretty clear that Green Bay was going to win, and then it seemed pretty clear that Cincinnati... And thank goodness that line went up towards the top for the green, but I don't think I've ever seen that much of an up and down win probability on a game like that.
Yeah, it was quite a graph. I'm glad it didn't flatline for anything.
Yeah, for sure. Well, those were some of the highlights that we loved seeing in the game, and we got to talk about some of the lowlights as well. I kind of teased it a little bit, but our defense, as good as some of the plays that they were doing were, our red zone is a serious problem. And in fact, one of our listeners, Aaron Peterson, sent me an article this morning that I read that brought to light something very important, which is that the Packers have not stopped a red zone offense from scoring a touchdown in their last 16 attempts. I don't know what happened to the gold zone. That's what they used to call it. Back when getting inside the 20 instead of the red zone, it was the gold zone. This is actually the longest streak for this stat. That is not a good thing for our defense. So that definitely has to improve.
No, wait a minute. The longest streak just for the Packers or in the history
for the
of the
NFL?
Oh, come on. There's got to be some teams that let people score. Wow, that is quite a stat. And I guess it's the gold zone when we're on offense, but when we're on the defense, it's the red zone.
Well, then it needs to be the green zone or something because it's got to. Well, no, the red zone. Let's stop them. Stop sign.
Yes,
red. I don't know.
I'm just please stop somebody. That would be nice.
Seriously, like 16 tries. Pretty much every offense that goes against us is all we got to do is get it in the 20-yard line and we're fine. That's not a good thing. That has to improve.
I think a lot of it has to do with the team as well. that we're facing. Against the Lions, I think that streak instantly ends. So, but
I sure hope so. I hope it ends against the Bears.
Well, definitely. Please. Yes, I'll take that. And for all the talk about, Mason Crosby and the missed field goals, the missed extra point, yeah, those hurt. But I think Aaron Rodgers' interception early in the game hurt us just about as much. It was just a drive killer. We were really marching, and that was not one of the best interceptions I've ever seen thrown.
No, it was pretty unfortunate, and I'm gonna own up to something right now, Wayne. I actually did not get to watch the first quarter of the game live. I did watch kickoff live, just because that's the tradition, right? But I had a buddy that basically called in a favor and needed something moved, and no one else was stepping up, so I had to go help. So I was actually had this one on my phone in my car, trying not to watch it, but just listening to it while I was driving home to my wife, who was not happy with me for missing the first quarter of the game. But yeah, when that happened, I did pick up my phone and look at it, and that was just unnecessary. Like it just he seemed off that series. He really did. I don't know what the deal is, but hopefully that gets tightened up before next week. Also, unfortunately, we had some injuries to bring to light as well. Kevin King is out with a shoulder injury, and I didn't realize this until someone from our community brought it up, but Jair Alexander was actually listed as inactive on Saturday for a shoulder as well. So that's two big defensive players. I know we've been railing on King a little bit the last couple weeks, but you never like to see anybody get hurt.
Right.
And, that's still a defensive weapon, and Jair Alexander especially has been a great asset to that defense. So here's to hoping both of them recover.
And with Jair Alexander going on IR, I don't know when we'll see him again, but It's especially important for us to have Kevin King. Mm-hmm. It's all hands on deck. And near the end of regulation, we tried to kick a field goal on third down. Now, I know there are pros and cons to it. Maybe there'd be a bad snap and then we get another shot. But the pros and cons, to me, I think it would have been much smarter to at least try another pass to the end zone or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's always dangerous. You got the risk of a turnover, and I mean, even though, Crosby did make some mistakes and shanked a couple here this game, LaFleur still has faith in our kicker. I mean, he proved that just by his classy move and by letting him kick it instead of going for it on 4th and inches, which you could argue that one as well. But I'm with you. I would have actually been fine with another running play. You know what I mean? Just to get it up a little bit further. I felt really bad because I didn't even know the rule. I actually had to ask around. If you kick a field goal on third down, don't you get fourth down if you miss it? And no, that's not how it works. So I learned something. But I'm with you. I don't like going for it on third down. There was still plenty of time, wasn't there?
I thought there was. Yeah. I don't know about plenty, but there was sufficient time.
I mean, we're not talking about 40 seconds or something. There was minutes left. Yeah. But yeah. Also worth noting, now that we've gotten the low lights out of the way, the Packers did sign Jalen Smith from the Cowboys this past week. He will be wearing jersey number 9, and here's to hoping that he can make an impact on the defense soon. Apparently, LaFleur likes the last name Smith. We had the Smith brothers, and now we got the Smith triplets. So hopefully we're going to hear a lot of the name Smith over the next few weeks because I want to hear from all three of them.
Yeah, especially with the other injuries that we're having. It'd be great if Jalen Smith can join us there in Chicago and make immediate impact. Look for number 9 there on the field, Scott. Number 9.
Let's go ahead and move on to our listener feedback. We've got voicemails from 920-3PACK-GO, or if you'd like to send us a voicemail via email, you can do so at feedback@PackersFanPodcast.com. As is tradition, please get your thoughts to us by midnight on Sunday so poor Mr. Wayne can have time to get those edited and able to put them into the show. What's our first one, Wayne?
Well, let's hear from New Lisbon.
Hey, guys, this is Mark from New Lisbon. I usually call right after the game, but I had to wait an hour or so because my heart was racing so much. Hey, it was I guess you could call it an ugly win, but a win is a win is a win. What an exciting game. As a Packer fan, that was tough to watch, but they pulled it out. So they're 4-1, and right now I'm watching on the NFL ticket San Francisco, Arizona. If the 49ers beat Arizona, we're tied for the 1 seed in the NFC, so that's a positive. And then the next 2 games, the Bears and Redskins, we could very well be 6-1. So, and then I know we have a rough stretch of 4 games in a row there, but what a great game. I think Packer fans appreciate Devonte Adams, but man, he is clearly the best receiver in the NFL. Over 200 yards. Those are like Madden numbers. So, much appreciation to Devonte. Our tight ends, I think people are getting frustrated that we're not throwing to Tunyon. And although Lewis had a big play, here's why. We have 3 of our starters on the offensive line out. Myers and Jenkins and Bakhtiari. So the tight ends are staying in to help protect Rodgers, and that's a great thing that LaFleur is doing. So, yeah, once we get our O-line back to where it should be with all the starters back, I think you'll see more tight ends over the middle and things like that. But, yeah, the O-line's been great. With those 3 guys out, man, these substitutes have been doing a great job. So, I mean, they're protecting Rodgers. He's the franchise. That's essential. So, a great win. The defense is getting better. This Devonte Campbell is fantastic. Love the guy. And then Mason Crosby, I've always loved him, and was so glad to see him redeem himself. So, thanks for taking my call, Scott and Wayne. You guys do a great job. Go Pack, go. Talk to you next week.
Thanks so much, Mark. And I love that you said totally redeemed yourself. Somebody sent me a video of that scene from Dumb and Dumber where Harry and Lloyd are sitting on the side of the road, and Harry says, "Just when I think you can't do anything dumber, you go and do this and totally redeem yourself." And then someone put a little caption at the top that said, "This is Aaron Rodgers to Mason Crosby." I thought it was pretty funny. To back up what you said, Mark, unfortunately, the Cardinals are still undefeated, so we are 4-1. So we are tied for the 2nd seed, I guess, silver lining and all that. But I don't know. It's really difficult to cheer for the 49ers anyway, so I was kind of okay to see them lose. And a good point, too, about the tight ends, because you know who's really frustrated about tight ends not getting any catches or touchdowns?
Bobby
T.
Guy
that... Yeah, the guy that has Bobby T on his fantasy football team, oh man, I was very, very frustrated. So yeah, unfortunately, that's not working out. But he made a good point, though. A lot of it may be due to them having to block because they've got the 2nd string more or less on that offensive line. So here's to hoping that Bakhtiari and the rest get back on that front line and help protect Rodgers, so we can get some more extra bodies out there catching balls.
Yeah, we're coming up to week 5. We're actually coming up on week 6. This season's already flying by. So, Mark, hopefully that means that Bakhtiari's return is just around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm hoping for.
RELAX. Relax. 4 and 1.
4 and 1. 4 and 1. 4 and 1. 4 and 1. Devonte Campbell.
Yeah!
Okay, this is negative Pete, and we're so excited. If you can't tell, that was so emotional.
I have not been on a roller coaster ride that exciting in my life. And I went to the park the other day.
2 days ago. So here's what we were saying just a minute ago. No Jair, no Elgton, no Dave, no Josh Myers. That is, as the Packers, I guarantee on some presser will quote, overcoming adversity. And they won!
Mm-hmm. It wasn't always pretty. And I would say it wasn't either winning ugly. But hell, I'll say this. Mason Crosby, redemption kick. He knew he was going to get another shot, and he freaking nailed it. Say what you say about the missed field goals and the opportunities before that. But thank God I would pick Crosby over any other kicker, bar none.
We are so close to 2 minutes. We have so many people. We wrote notes down. Actually, I did not, Pete. A.J. Dillon was amazing. He's going through cement wall just like Jamal used to do.
DA-17, a.k.a. Devonte Adams. Elite.
Yes.
showcased his talent is unprecedented. Another level. Love that dude on our team.
And that ended one of their first few voicemails that they called in. But I love
First few.
Yeah. But through the magic of editing and mixing and all that. But I love the RELAX because we all need to do that. And Campbell, yes, amazing. And this definitely Megan and Pete roller coaster of a game.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like it went through a double loop and then went inverted, backwards, and inside out loop. And overcoming the adversity of having so many of those guys out on defense, that we hung in, we were able to make it happen, and it was so good that Mason got his redemption kick.
Imagine how formidable we could be at full strength.
Oh, man. I'm hoping we get to find that out very, very soon. In fact, speaking of Mason's redemption, I saw a quote from, I think it was Devonte Adams, might have been Randall Cobb, one of the two, today that said, I don't remember all of the kicks that he missed. I just remember the one that he made.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
And Aaron, we trust, baby! Go Pack! Okay, this is a little bit more, sorry for all the screaming, Wayne and Scott, but we have a few people to give shout-outs to. The one that has like a million underlines on my note sheet is Campbell. All caps, Devonte Campbell. OMG, honestly, he is everywhere, every game.
Everywhere.
I mean, honestly, the interception, I know we didn't capitalize on it, but like, just to be the playmaker that he is, the effort.
If you got a problem, he will solve it.
Yes. And if we're talking about effort, let's move on to Eric Stokes. He did 100% effort. All 60 minutes, honestly, he had the one that they caught the ball over him, but honestly, he is playing for a starting position, and he's making a case for himself 1,000%.
Absolutely. Dude is on the scene from draft pick, rookie guy, to all of a sudden thrown into the mix and locking down receivers. Incredible.
Amazing. We also want to talk about Dean Lowry. He was there. Chris Barnes in the beginning, first half, first quarter. Joe Burrow, we talked about this too. He is going to be in pain tomorrow. Probably tonight. I'll wake him up in the middle of the night.
He ran into a brick wall.
I mean, yeah, Green Bay defense sucks, right? Everyone's going to talk about Joe Burrow. I mean, honestly, week one, anomaly.
They gave the team the opportunity to win by continuing to stop the Bengals from scoring a touchdown. Say what you will. It was a differentiator.
Totally. Preston, Amos with the pick. Honestly, the G came to play.
Unwavering confidence. That's what I commend Matt LaFleur, head coach of the Green Bay Packers, Matt LaFleur, for having. He did not bat an eye on sending Mason out there time after time, even at the coin flip, start OT. Dude had unwavering confidence in his kicker, and despite some ups and some downs and a lot of recent downs, continued to bet on his guy to get it done, and he did exactly that. And I love him for that.
100%. Coach of the year. We also want Jonesy for his 57-yarder. He had a tough day, but I mean, when we need him, he's there. They have an amazing defense. Cincinnati, they came. Our defense came, their defense came. Honestly, it was a good game.
All you got to say is they're not always pretty or perfect, but a win is a win is a win is a win. And that's what championship caliber teams do, baby.
Mic drop.
Boom.
Obviously, we're so happy because we won. Ah! Go back, go! 4-1! 4-1! 4-1!
Run the Bears!
Let's go!
Wow.
Megan and Pete, have you guys ever considered doing a podcast? Because I think you guys would be pretty good at it. Boy, a lot to unpack there, but the thing that stuck out to me the most was them talking about Joe Burrow, who they said is probably hurting a bit today. Actually, he did go to the hospital for a throat contusion.
Ouch.
Apparently, it sounded like he got poked in the throat, hopefully inadvertently, during a play. But apparently he's okay, so he should be fine next week. But he definitely did get knocked around. And I do like that Megan and Pete also agreed with me on the classiness of sending Crosby out there for the coin toss. That was really cool. Unwavering confidence, a great way to say it. And I love it when people talk about Dean Lowry. He's from Rockford, man. Representing
Rockford, Cheap Trick Land, and Scott Clark Land.
Absolutely, mic drop moment. Thanks so much for the call, Megan and Pete.
Wayne Scott, Arlington, Texas. Man, what a great game. It was, like I said last week, the cardiac Packers. The defense had a great game from the get-go. I got to give them credit. They hung in there, made some great stops. Hey, it looks like they're limping their way to victories. I'll take it. I'll take any victory. Another great game by Kenny Clark. Man, what would we do without that guy? I wish there was a way that we could have Stokes and King in there at the same time, like just leave them there. So, quick question for you guys: if you guys are Matt LaFleur, what are you guys telling Mason Crosby right before the winning field goal? Another victory. We didn't go for them. They didn't go. Go Pack, go.
Art in Texas, giving us a call at 9203-PAT-GO. Thank you so very much for your call. Ending with a question. Boy, that's a tough one there. If we were Matt LaFleur, what would we tell Mason Crosby right before that last kick?
3 words. 3 words. Shake it off.
Shake it off. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll go with that because, Art, you stumped me with that question. I have no idea what the coach would tell him other than, we know you got it.
Yeah.
And
pretty much.
Yeah, the cardiac Packers defense was great from the get-go. Summing it up well with, I'll take any victory. Yeah, because, hey, we're still a game and a half in first place in the division. So wins just, destiny is in our hands. And, of
Absolutely.
course, more shout-outs to Kenny Clark because he is kind of an unsung hero a lot of the time for our defense. But without him, a lot of the other things going on would not be able to happen.
You make a really good point too with it being any victory, and it being a game and a half up. That makes this week's game even all the more important because even if we lose, we're still tied for first, right? But if we win, man, that gives us a really nice upper edge in the standings. So I think this game could be a turning point for us or a momentum breaker.
What is up, Packer Nation? This is Chris, Central Wisconsin. Go Pack, go! I expected it to be a little bit more of a blowout than what it was. Cincinnati hung in there. I got to give props to the secondary. I thought they did all right. Stokes was, he did good. They need to get in there, do some little bit more blitzing, I think. But the running game was well. A.J. Dillon. Rodgers. I want to hear from all these people that were bashing on Rodgers in the offseason and the first game of the year, saying, let him go, he's a prima donna, yada, 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 whatever, let's bring in Love. You know what? All you young'uns, you know nothing before the Favre and Rodgers era. You didn't live through the 70s and the 80s. Quarterbacks like that do not grow on trees. You guys need to suck it up and realize that he is what he is, man. He's one of the best. And Crosby, you know what? The guy's been clutch. He is clutch. Mr. Clutch, as a matter of fact, the Silver Fox. A few missed field goals, the extra points, but you know what? It is what it is. He won the game. Would not trade him for anybody in the league. Crosby, Rodgers, Adams. I tell you, they got to use a little bit more receivers than Adams. Rodgers has got to look elsewhere here and there. But you know what? The Packers are one of the top teams in the league. All you Roger haters out there, you know what? Go cheer for another team. I'm tired of hearing about it. Go live in the Lynn Dickey era, in the David Whitehurst era. You have no idea. You're spoiled. Live it up. Go Pack, go. Let's rock on. Let's go for the championship this year.
Thanks so much for your call, Chris. I agree with you so much about the hate for Rodgers. It gets old. It gets really old, and I don't go back as far as you, but I was there for the Don Majkowski days, so I can feel your pain a little bit. Once Favre got here, we've been sitting pretty in the quarterback position. So, we are a little bit spoiled. I'm with you in hoping that it would have been more of a blowout, although I would almost argue that it kind of was a blowout. We just failed to complete the process. We had so many opportunities to run away with this game, and we just failed. And I'm not just talking about Mason. There were so many series where we should not have had to rely on Mason to kick a field goal. They should have ended with a touchdown, and we just failed to convert on third down and had to settle and settle and settle. So, if you look at the stats and look at the number of yards and time of possession and all that, we dominated this game. We just could not get the points on the board, unfortunately.
And Crosby, the Silver Fox, is Mr. Clutch. I would not trade him for anyone else. That's what Chris wants us to know, and I'm going to agree with that 100%. I mean, sure, that was one of his rough games. He got the yips or whatever was going on. We don't know. But the people talking about, oh, yeah, we should get rid of him. And I'm like, don't even suit him up next week. I'm like, oh, come on.
Yeah, he had one. He hasn't missed one in 2 years. 2 years. And that was like a last game of a season.
Yeah, and then you look at the fact that all of the other games, there were so many other kickers having trouble. I don't know how or why it's possible that it could just be a bad weekend for kickers, but he's going to be just fine. We're going to be just fine. And Aaron Rodgers is doing what Aaron Rodgers does. And Chris, your props for our secondary. Excellent to hear, because we've got our work cut out for us. And I think in a lot of ways, the Packers on offense and defense, despite a few problems, I think they are getting better every week, a little bit better in most phases every week. And if we can continue getting better and then get Bakhtiari back and Elgin Jenkins and the rest, it's just going to help build on all of that when we need them the most.
Go, Pat! Go! Go, Pat! Go! Andre in LA. Hey, guys. What an ugly win. Mason Crosby, he may not always come when you call, but he's always on time, I guess. Goodness. Thankfully, the Bengals were having the same issue. It didn't look that windy out there. I don't know what was going on, but still a very good win. It felt like a throwback game. Both teams' defenses were all over the field. I don't normally watch Cincinnati, but that kid, Oahu, whatever his name was everywhere. My goodness. But Rodgers, big, calm and steady. I like this win because this was a win. We won ugly. Last year, we lost a lot of the ugly games. We couldn't finish those games. It did make me a little nervous that we couldn't always, when we got in the red zone, get the ball into the end zone, but we overcame that. Great play calling on offense and defense. Rodgers took some hits, but he stood tough. Devonte Adams, I don't even know what more else to say, but Devonte Adams, can we start talking about him for MVP over other people? Because he's been incredible this year. A.J. Dillon, I apologize. I set you on my fantasy team. Ezekiel Elliott had a great game. I'm sorry. But way to play, A.J. Dillon. Jones had a great game as well. The defense got a couple turnovers. What a game. What a game. Great coaching by LaFleur. You guys missed it last week. We don't give him enough credit. Matt LaFleur is doing a heck of a job coaching this team. Whew. You got to love this team. They win ugly. I'd rather them win ugly than lose pretty. Can't wait to hear you guys. Love the fans. Shout out to all the Packer faithful that call in every week. Meg and your boyfriend, you guys have the greatest calls ever. Love you guys. Andre in LA. Go, Pack! Go!
Amazing. And Scott, I'm so glad that he said who he was. I never would have guessed that was Andre in LA.
Right.
No.
Right.
Andre, bringing it. As always, thank you so very, very much. And yeah, that defender on the Bengals was a force. I'm surprised I hadn't heard his name ever.
Awuzie, by the way,
and
is his name.
Thank you very much. I guess because he's in the AFC, we don't get to see as many AFC games because we're focused on the Packers for the obvious reasons. But look out for that guy. And Andre, great point about how it's good to win an ugly game for a change instead of losing an ugly game. And like you said, it's good to win an ugly game. That's better than losing pretty, right?
For sure. A win is a win is a win.
And you got to love this team. And how about the chance for Devonte to be the league MVP possibly?
I could see it.
It doesn't always have to be a quarterback.
It doesn't, but Tom Brady, man.
Oh, he's in a system. I don't know. It's still early. A lot can happen, and I'm on board with Andre there.
Go Pack Go! Go Pack Go! Oh, what a game. Cardiac pack for sure. Was there 1, 2, 3, 5 missed field goals and a missed point under for attempt on both sides of the ball. I was at the game, definitely got my money's worth. Didn't like how the game went. It ended in our favor, of course, but no way that should have gone down to with 2-3 minutes left in overtime with the win. Mason Crosby just had a bad day. That's all there was to it. I've seen people are already saying that he needs to be let go and they need to find a new kicker. Nonsense. The man made like 29 field goal attempts in a row. And that was the first time that he's missed in such a long time. He's money. Couple of notes from being at the game and seeing what I saw from ground level. Seems like we're back to the old tricks of getting in the red zone or getting a good drive put together and then just stalling out and then putting the faith in old Crosby's leg, which obviously that didn't work. That game should have never even gone into overtime, let alone all the way to the end of overtime. I do have to say a couple of notes from tailgating with the Bengals fans. They are phenomenal. That was one of the best tailgates I've ever been to. They were so nice, so accommodating. Even after the loss, they were gracious. It really reminded me of the fans that we have up at Green Bay. So kudos to the Bengals fans. Good job. Keep it up. That's all I have. Had an awesome time at the game with my buddy. I'll post a couple pictures on the Packers Community Podcast Facebook page and the Twitter. And I will see you guys and talk to you guys next week. Go Pack Go!
Thanks so much, Dan, for your voicemail. Really appreciate it. Glad to hear that you got part of your voice still after being at the game. It was really cool to see those pictures. I know you shared some with us as Captain Pack Sparrow. That was pretty cool. I think Wayne, wasn't he like featured on some news website or something? There were pictures of him and a Bengals fan together. You sent me
just this afternoon. He posted it and shared it with our Twitter account at Packers Fan Pod. And I guess the Cincinnati newspaper, one of them, did a bit of a story on him and other people at the game. And then on the online version, they had him there as well. A couple of great shots of listener Dan, and one of them with the Bengals fan, his buddy, I guess, and then posted it online. He did screenshots and posted them with the Twitter account. So if you're following at Packers Fan Pod on Twitter, I retweeted it because great photos too, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. They're really great. And I just love hearing stories about Packers fans interacting with other fans of other teams and having a positive experience. That is one of my favorite things to do, going to a game and just still getting along with fans of the opposing team. And no matter what happens, everyone's like, hey, we're just here to have a good time. I love that. People getting together for the love of football and not holding anything against anybody or tearing them down or swearing at them. And I've been to so many games where I've gotten middle fingers and all this kind of stuff just for being a fan of the opposing team. I didn't do anything. And I love hearing these stories of positivity of people getting along and just getting together for the love of the game more than anything else.
And a great point, Dan. That game never should have gone into overtime. We're back to our old tricks, as Pack Sparrow calls them, of stalling out in the red zone. Amazing. That is so cool that you got to go. He was like front row, and I was trying to picture from his pictures whereabouts he was so I could look for him in the stadium with his outfit on.
I would have looked closer if I weren't on the edge of my seat.
Oh, what a game. Could you imagine the stress of being at that game?
Oh my goodness. I just couldn't even, because you can't like really see, like if you're on the front row on the sideline, you're not going to be able to really tell if that ball goes through the upright, right?
When it's at his end of the field, you could.
Oh, he was in the end zone. I thought you said he was in the sideline.
It looked like he was around the 10 or 15 yard line.
Oh, okay. So he probably had a decent view for at least one of them, but just that, like, did it go? Did it go? Because I've been to games and like where I sit, no matter where I sat, I always like feel like I had to just wait for the reaction of the crowd that was behind the uprights to be able to tell if it went in or not. And I don't know what it would be like to not be able to see it, because we're lucky, we're spoiled when we watch it on TV because we get to see it. We get to see the refs and their hand motions, and it's just got to be so nerve wracking.
Well, heck, the kicker on the other team, he thought that he made the field goal. He's celebrating, but no.
I know.
Sorry.
I saw it miss, and I saw the no good signs from the refs, and then I saw him jumping and getting all excited. I'm like, dude, did you see that it missed?
So basically, Scott, if the players sometimes can't even tell.
Right.
Don't feel bad. Oh, man. Thank you so much for your calls. Keep the number handy, because this is Bears week, people, and we want to hear from you right after the game at area code 920-3PACK-GO. And for those who are in the know, now would be a fabulous time to boost some Satoshis if you're enjoying the Packers Fan Podcast and one of those newfangled podcasting 2.0 players. Just saying. Now, onto our weekly poll, and thanks, Scott, for helping me fine-tune this one. What needs to be tweaked the most for the Packers before going into Chicago? The offense, the defense, special teams, something else? Well, surprisingly or not, special teams got 48% of the votes, Scott, when combining the Facebook group votes as well as the Twitter votes. 48%.
Which is interesting, because obviously kicking is part of special teams, but I don't think Mason Crosby needs to improve. He just needs to shake off what happened here.
Well, true.
So,
I think it's mostly the punt returns. And our punter, who's been doing great all season, did have that really bad one this week.
Oh, yeah, barely crossed the halfway point. I'm going to agree with the 32% that said the defense needs to be tweaked, specifically the red zone, which I talked about. That's embarrassing that 16 times opponents have gotten in there and we've failed to stop them. That just can't happen. So, yeah.
After hearing that stat that Aaron Peterson sent you, I'm going to agree with you on defense, because that red zone, that is unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And 17% said the offense, and 3% said, something else.
Something else. We had some comments on the poll as well. First off, on Twitter, XRoyalXStorm on Twitter said, it's been special teams for about 6 years. And then he had a couple of emojis there. I don't know how we're so bad on special teams. Beth Mentink on Twitter also said, I really wish I didn't care about this as much as I do. #GoPackGo.
Good point. And Doric Packers fans, defense, specifically red zone.
Yeah.
Also on Twitter is Steve McNally, much like Doric, particularly the red zone defense. I'd like to see us hold opponents to field goals at least.
Mm-hmm. Also in the Facebook group, Dan Dyler said, looks like I'm in the minority here, but we need to not rely on one man's leg, but instead focus on why the offense seems to often sputter in the red zone or begin to put a drive together and it just sputters. We should have handily won that game yesterday with a score in the close to, if not in, the 40s. I agree.
Maybe this week. And Scott Boers in the Facebook group, Red Zone, or Gold Zone as they like to call it. Whatever you want to call it, it needs to be better. So I would say offense.
Also in the group, Dictus in the Netherlands said, my first reaction was offense and then all three. But after thinking about it, it especially is finish up. Whether it's in the offense in the red zone, our red zone defense, the special teams unit that needs to finish better, that is field goals, but also tackling on returns. But if I really have to pick one phase, I will still say the offense for now. When this offense is humming and clicking, everything functions better. Then again, with the amount of injuries and with the room for improvement, expected starters to return during the season, being 4-1 isn't such a bad thing. So no time for doom and gloom. #GoPackGo.
That's right. Don't forget, we're 4-1. Some of the other great posts and comments unrelated to the poll that were made in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community group, which, by the way, you can find at packerscommunity.com. We had Jacob Searles. He was the first one to give us the bad news that Jair Alexander was placed on IR. So apparently he's not going to try to play with some sort of brace on his shoulder like we thought about last week.
Unfortunately. Also, superfan Aaron Peterson shared the clip of Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show talking about NFL officiating. His response might surprise you. I recommend going and watching that clip if you get a chance. Also, Jared McChinney-Kerr passed along this great info from the game. Today marked the first time in team history that the Packers had a 300-yard passer, a 200-yard receiver, and a 100-yard rusher in the same game. That's Aaron Rodgers getting 344 passing yards, Devonte Adams getting 206 receiving yards, and Aaron Jones 103 rushing yards. Again, with those numbers, we should have won this game by a lot more than we did. We just have to finish up, as the previous commenter said. Moving on to emails. Our first email says, Wayne and Spicy Scott. Apparently that's sticking.
You must have gone to Taco Bell again, eh?
I haven't in a while, actually, man. I've been watching what I eat. Got to squeeze into my bathing suit this summer. Stephen Verheeren checking in from the Palace Park, Illinois, where the hometown Chicago Bears still, well, you know. I don't know if I can really say that I am impressed with the Packers on their performance close to the end of the game. There are more lowlights than highlights, and the player that I want to call out is, drumroll please, Mason Crosby. I'm not sure you're wondering, why, Stephen, do you want to call out Mason Crosby? Didn't he win us the game? Yes, he did, but he also missed 4 kicks in the game, which includes what would have been an extra point that would have tied the game at 7-6. Instead, left us at 7-6. In the first quarter, both defenses were very impressive, where neither defense gave up points to the other team to score. So, what do you think, guys? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Until the last minute and 15 seconds to go in the first quarter, that the Bengals had finally scored, and you had to realize that some team's defense is going to have to mess up, but you had to hope it would be the Bengals, and yet it was the Packers defense to mess up first.
Aww.
Scott, are you going to make a bet with your boss, and when the Packers beat the Chicago Bears, make her do something embarrassing, like for a whole entire day that she has to wear a Green Bay Packers shirt or jersey? Also, you mentioned on the podcast that she almost complimented on your polo shirt, that if she had complimented you on the shirt and then saw what it was, but hey, what a good idea. Help Scott pick out his wardrobe, but what will you do in the event of a tie in the poll? Wear them both? I mean, does the tie go with the Packers jersey? Is that if two things that are tied? I see what you did there. Hey, Wayne, did you enjoy your second breakfast with the Green Bay Packers? And with the Bears and Packers game is also set for noon Central Time next week. I can't wait to hear how the points will go for the wager of fun to see who gets the points. Also, congratulations to Spicy Scott on getting the score right last week. Okay, I'm finally going to check out for now, but I can't wait to hear the podcast for your game recap. Stephen Verheeren. Thank you so much, Stephen. You know, that's a good point about my boss. I wonder, see, here's the thing.
It's your boss.
No. That's not the issue. Like, I can offer it up. If by some miracle, or, you know, I mean, I can't say miracle because nothing's for sure. I can't stand, like, I can win with grace and lose with dignity. My boss cannot.
Okay.
So if we were to lose, I would hear about it all day long. Like, she would be coming to visit my classroom to talk about me wearing something Bears. I don't know if I could do it, man. I don't know if it's worth the risk. I truly don't. And I don't know if she would make the bet, honestly, because I think she feels the same way.
Oh, interesting. So we may never know, but what did you wear for Victory Monday today?
I'm just wearing my Green Bay Packers t-shirt. Actually, my game day t-shirt. I've got a t-shirt that I wear every game, whether it be by itself or underneath my Kenny Clark jersey. This is my good luck Green Bay jersey. So I just and my Green Bay Packers gym shorts. So I'm all kinds of Packers today.
Cool deal. And I didn't have a second breakfast. We've been pretty lucky that every single game, even this one, was aired here in the Southern California area. So instead of going to like a sports bar and having some spicy sausages and pancakes, I just waited till after this game to have lunch. And then it goes into overtime. I'm like, I'm getting hungry. Let's go Packers. Let's wrap it up. No, ate lunch about an hour and a half later than I like to, but so.
Should have had second breakfast.
Well, if I was a hobbit, I would definitely look into that. Back to the emails. Hey, Wayne and Scott, this is CCR from Green Bay, Wisconsin. What a crazy game. 3 missed field goals and an extra point after attempt. I feel bad for Mason Crosby, but it is inexcusable. He only missed 2 field goals in the past 2 seasons, but missed 3 today. Hopefully we can fix that this coming week. There were also a few non-calls that should have been called on the Bengals, and we need to really focus on our secondary. But all in all, a win is a win. Go Pack Go. Bleed green and gold till dead and cold. Caleb Fisher. And I controlled myself and didn't bring up the non-calls earlier in the game in the lowlight section.
I know you did. I'm proud of you, man. Look at you growing up.
No, it's just there was so much else to talk about.
There is actually not a whole lot of penalties this game. I feel like there is not a ton of laundry in the field.
Well, there was a couple occasions during the game where I turned to my wife and said, "Are there refs at this game?" Because I just think they're on autopilot today.
Well, it's just you get so used to like something good happens. Oh, there's going to be a flag. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of we're just kind of expecting it at this point. But anyway, thank you to all of you for your calls, emails, comments, and support. We do appreciate it. If you would like to join the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook community and be part of the conversation, head over to packerscommunity.com. You've got to check out the game day live game discussion thread. Boy, it was a long one this week because it was a lot of back and forth. People pulling out their hairs, drinking Pepto, taking some Xanax, whatever they were doing. It was a very up and down, and it's a lot of fun to interact with everybody during that game.
And this week, with it being Bears week, the conversations may really go off. So let's get into it. Your 4-1 Green Bay Packers are heading to Chicago to play the 3-2 Bears Sunday, October 17th at 12 noon Central. The Packers lead this series, thank goodness, 101-95 and 6 ties. Between the Packers and Bears, we have a combined 65 members in the NFL Hall of Fame. If that doesn't say something about how huge this rivalry has been and still is, I don't know what else will. And the Bears, they started out as the Decatur Staleys, a works team by the A&E Staley Manufacturing Company in 1919. That's a familiar year. They turned professional later in 1920 and joined the American Professional Football Association, who later became, you guessed it, the NFL. In 1921, they moved to Chicago and became the Bears. And of course, the Packers were also founded in 1919 and joined the APFA in 1921. And then once the NFL did set up the conference system in 1933, the Packers and Bears became division rivals and have been so ever since. And if there's one game in this rivalry that I'd take my time machine to so I could witness it firsthand, would be the one on September 30th, 1962, when Vince Lombardi's Packers shut out George Halas's Bears 49-0 at City Stadium in Green Bay, the largest margin of victory for the Packers in the rivalry. And even more amazingly, the Packers repeated that score against the Philadelphia Eagles 6 weeks later on November 11th, 1962. I'm getting misty-eyed just thinking about the Packers winning 49-0 twice in a 6-week span.
That is pretty epic. I hope that happens again. You know what, Wayne? I got some fun stats about the Packers and the Bears as well. The Bears are 3-16 against the Packers since October 2011. That is 3 wins in the last 10 years, if that means anything for you.
That's a shame.
The Packers have also won 9 of the last 10 matchups against the Bears, and Rodgers is 20-5 against the Bears in his career. And also, I found this really, really interesting. The Packers and Bears have actually shared 15 different players at one time or another. The first was Bob Jeter, who was with the Bears from 71 to 73, and then the Packers before that from 63 to 70. Most recently, it was Jimmy Graham, who was with the Packers for the 2018 and 2019 season and has been with the Bears since last year. But 15 players we've shared. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, to have that many go to the division rival directly, right. That's pretty shocking. Oh, and this just in, the Bears still, well, you know. Sunday afternoon's weather in Chicago is forecast to be sunny and around 63 degrees Fahrenheit at kickoff. about 17 degrees Celsius. That sounds perfect to me.
Yep, perfect football weather. Maybe even a little cooler. Just, enough to put on a sweatshirt, but we got plenty of those to come yet.
Oh, no doubt.
Well, let's move on to my keys to a Packers victory over the Chicago Bears. I got a lot of them this week. First off, bring back the gold zone. As I mentioned earlier, the Packers have a bad recent history when it comes to stopping their opponents in the red zone, and I know gold zone means when we're on offense, but still. Short story, they haven't stopped their opponents in the red zone. That needs to change. There needs to be a fire lit under these guys when the opposing team is in scoring position. This includes the front line as well as the secondary. This should be LaFleur's number one ask of his team as they prepare for a rivalry game that's not going to be at Lambeau. It's going to be an away game. This is the time for us to step up in that red zone. Secondly, take advantage of the unbalanced quarterbacks. It's difficult to argue that Rodgers is one of the best in the league. And the quarterback situation in Chicago has historically been a mixed bag for several years now. Justin Fields has a lot of promise, and it proved this week that he can take a licking and keep on ticking. But he's no AR-12, let's be honest. Although their defense is formidable, Rodgers has a history of tearing their secondary apart with an average 107 passer rating, and now we have a running game too. So, yeah, we need to take advantage of that unbalanced offense for sure. Number 3, keep focusing on the 1-2 punch of our awesome running game. We saw a lot more out of A.J. Dillon this week, which was awesome to see, and we've got 2 incredible running backs. 2! I'd like to see a lot more out of the running game when it comes to play calling. With 2 studs, that gives them time to rest between potentially big plays and just really run over that defense. So take advantage of that for sure. And finally, stop forcing big plays. Look, we all love seeing explosive passes from Rodgers to Adams, but we like getting in the end zone a whole lot more. We seem to be more successful getting there when we chip away 10 yards at a time instead of looking for those 60 to 70-yard TD passes. Smart passes, quick slants, and spread the ball. And there you have it.
Oh, man, I am fired up. Go, Pack, go!
Let's do it. Let's do it. Now, on to our score predictions. Last week, my prediction was the Packers 30, the Bengals 29. That was a differential of 6 from the actual score, 25 to 22. Wayne guessed the Bengals score exactly correct. He wanted to be at least half as good as I was last week. And and he said 28 points for the Packers, which gave him a differential of 3. So that means he did win again this week. Unfortunately, that brings the score to 3-1. I still think I deserve 2 points for last week. It should be 3-2, but I'm not going to argue in on it.
Well, hey, I was almost going to get the score exactly right this week if the Packers would have just got a touchdown in overtime instead of a field goal. It would have been 28-22.
Yeah, because there would have been no need for an extra point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But sometimes these things happen, but I'll take the victory for the Packers.
How wild would it have been if we both guessed the score exactly right back-to-back weeks? That would have been insane.
People would have think that we know what we're doing.
Yeah, we don't want people to think that.
No.
Well, this week, I think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring game. As much as I think the Packers will dominate, I think that this rivalry is going to be a head-to-head rivalry. I think this is going to be a beatdown, and it's going to be a game decided by a lot of running, I think. But I'm going to say Packers 24, Bears 20.
All right, and I'm going to go with Packers 31, Bears 24. Though, of course, in my heart, I would like it to be another one of those 49-0 blowouts for a Packers victory. But I will be happy with 31-24. So in the NFC North, we are 4-1. The Bears are 3-2. The Vikings 2-3, trying to move up. And I'm actually starting to feel bad for the Lions. They had that game and should have won that game, but they are now 0-5, and their coach was distraught after the game. It was good to see that he cares so much, and they're going to get a win. It's going to happen. Some other things going on in the NFL. Brace yourself, people. The bye weeks are coming. Week 6 is here. This week, the bye weeks, the Falcons, Saints, Jets, and 49ers. So if the Saints do start winning more games, after the bye week, it's going to be one of those things where we have to kind of remember when we're comparing who's in the lead and not. Have they played more games than the other team? And I just hate the bye weeks. Math.
I'm with
right?
you. It's frustrating, but it only lasts a few weeks, and then everything goes back to normal right as we head into playoff season. So
Playoffs.
And speaking of Mason Crosby, I know we talked a lot about him on this episode, but he was not the only kicker struggling this week. There were 12 extra points missed this weekend, and that's before tonight's game. So I have no idea what's going on in the game right now, which I think just started about 5 minutes ago. 12 extra points missed this weekend, tying the league record, which happened in 2016 when there were 12 extra points missed in a weekend. And kickers also missed 12 field goals. So there were 12 missed extra points, 12 missed field goals. Per ESPN, this is the first time since they moved the point after touchdown kick from the 2-yard line to the 15 that there were at least 10 missed field goals and 10 missed extra points. That is the first time it's happened when they did that. What was it? 2000? I can't remember what year that was when they did that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And if there's an extra point and a field goal missed tonight, it'll be a baker's dozen.
Yeah, it makes a baker's dozen for me. And the last thing I wanted to mention in the NFL was, how about the Bills knocking off the Chiefs?
Wow.
I mean,
that was wild. That was convincing, too.
It really was. Josh Allen looks incredible. I had an opportunity to pick him up in my fantasy football league this season, and I'm kicking myself for not doing it because I just was totally impressed. He had some passes in the end zone that just, it didn't look physically possible the way that they were thrown, how they just like dropped into the end zone. It was incredible. He's the real deal for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know if the Chiefs are still suffering from a Super Bowl hangover from losing the Super Bowl, or if they've just kind of been exposed and people figured out that they're having trouble with their defense as well. A few guys got banged up, and you know they're in the same division with the LA Chargers, who are on quite a roll as well. Their quarterback, I went head to head with my son in the Packers Fan Podcast Facebook fantasy football league this week, and I thought, oh man, I got Josh Allen, I've got this one, but he had Herbert on the Chargers and took care of business. So
there you go.
Oh well. Oh. Out of almost nowhere, Doctor Who is going to be returning. I thought new episodes weren't going to be coming till like January, February, maybe March. And all of a sudden this week they dropped a teaser and saying that Doctor Who returns for a new like mini season starting on Halloween on BBC and BBC America here in the States. And Flux, not the flux capacitor, just Flux, is the overarching theme of this upcoming season of episodes. Hoping for a lot of strong episodes. It's going to be very interesting because this is going to be the final run for the current Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, as well as the current showrunner. They're going to do this season, which looks pretty abbreviated, thanks to COVID, you know, and then they're going to have like a special or two next year, and then the next squad takes over. Anyway, the reason I bring it up is I do have my Doctor Who podcast, which is called Don't Blink. And I'm going to have to dust off the RSS feed. We're going to have new episodes of Don't Blink coming out, obviously, to talk about these new episodes. So be sure to go to don'tblinkpodcast.com if you're a Whovian or you travel in a TARDIS, and join us for that episode. Me and my co-host Jada, we are getting ready to talk about some Doctor Who. It's been a long time.
And one of these days, I'm going to convince Wayne to play a Doctor Who themed video game. And speaking of video games, if you love video games as much as I do, I have another podcast called The Gaming Outsider, where we chat about my favorite hobby each and every week. And this week, we're talking about video game mechanics that don't make any sense in the real world. You know what I'm talking about. Things you can do in video games that there's no way you could do in real life. We also played Far Cry 6, Metroid Dread, and the remaster of Alan Wake, all of which released this past week. If you want to hear that, be sure to check out our website, thegamingoutsider.com, and also you can listen to the podcast at the same places you listen to this fine show.
Value for value. Am I right? Your Packers Fan Podcast believes in value for value, and we love that you support the show financially as well as by just telling friends about the show. We have details at patreon.com/Packers Fan Podcast where you can support the show financially. We want to send out huge thanks and a loud Go Pack Go to Dan Dyler for his Jim Ringo level Patreon support. And can I get a Go Pack Go for listener Bryant's Willie Wood inspired level support?
Go Pack Go.
Thank you very much. And at the Aaron Rodgers inspired $12 level, Go Pack Go to Jay Walters.
And a huge thanks and Go Pack Goes also to our Brett Favre level supporters, which include Andre in LA, Colm Nolan from Ireland, Miguel Ramirez from the Opposites Attract podcast, Jeff Summerfield, and Lawrence Harvey. And of course, Go Pack Goes for our Curly Lambeau level supporters, Beth Mentink, Joe Christensen, Hank Davis for the TPE Network of Podcasts, and Matt Haig. Thanks again for all of your support. We invite you to check out how you too can share your love for the show. Details, again, can be found at patreon.com/Packers Fan Podcast. As a reminder, we are the unofficial Packers Fan Podcast, not yet affiliated with the NFL or the Green Bay Packers, but please follow the Packers Fan Podcast where you listen to your shows, and please tell a friend about the show.
And go ahead and please follow us on Twitter at Packers Fan Pod, at GoCastScott, and at Wayne Henderson. And closing out with an epic Go Pack Go from Packers Fan Podcast Patreon supporter Dan Dyler. We're going to beat the Bears after this.
Hey, Packers Fan Podcast listeners, this is your cheesehead from Indianapolis, Dan, and I have just two words for you. Go, 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 Pack, go!